Hi, this is Bernard Cohen, and you're listening to Glenda's Dragon's Den on Wild FM.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Glenda Dawson, your host from Glenda's Dragon's Den. How is everybody doing? Today is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers, whether they're here or not, or they're women that are fathers acting like fathers because they're single parents also. I wanted to say hi to Ashley, my co-host, and
Hello.
to LD, my dragon wrangler. Ashley, how was your week?
It was good. I was staying out of trouble for the most part. Just another day in the neighborhood.
Another day in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, LD?
It was a week to end all weeks. I'm just glad we got here.
There you go. There you go. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, you betcha.
So we're going to be discussing parenthood.
Well, you're going to be discussing, and
Yeah.
I'll probably be disgusting.
Yes, yes.
It'll be a regular show.
The
A
jokes
regular
write
show.
themselves.
And again, I apologize ahead of time.
You're going to apologize for 16 inches?
Yes, I am going to apologize for 16
You're
inches.
never living
We
that
still
down.
remember. No, they're not living that one down. Not for a long time anyway.
Like 16 inches long?
16 inches long. So, I hope you guys are enjoying all of our shows. Please send us any comments or concerns, or, just if you enjoyed it, didn't enjoy it, whatever, or any subjects you may want to talk about, or have us talk about, and go right to my website, glendasmagicalcreations.com, and just hit the contact button there and send me an email, so it'll be completely private, and that includes anything about today. Let's not divulge anything that's too private out into the open to the public.
That applies to the fans. I'm going to be divulging, and Matt will be divulging back. And
yes, but we're
you
talking.
haven't introduced Matt either.
I know I haven't introduced Matt yet,
but
but
I'm
usually I
just saying,
do. I take care of business.
yeah, housekeeping, right?
Housekeeping before I introduce the guest. Always done it.
But I just brought him up, so
Yes, I know you brought him up. Hi.
So what's that email?
I brought
one
him
more
up
time?
good.
So it's, we'll just have everybody go to glendasmagicalcreations.com.
Okay.
And then just, hit the contact button. And just send me an email that way. And then it will remain completely private. And any questions, comments, concerns, anything about this show or any other show,
As Matt would say, private thoughts.
please contact me through there using that avenue. And today, I know that we always discussing things in the chat room, and I want people to talk and joke around and all that. But if it's anything too private, and you're going to be mentioning other people besides yourself, send it to me privately, and then we could discuss it after I see the email, or I read the email. This way it's not all over Facebook land and so on.
It'll just be between us and the NSA.
And the NSA knows everything anyway. So
I always pictured them more like Sergeant Schultz, but
with that, and again, I'm apologizing ahead of time. And with that, I want to introduce Matt who is LD's son. And Matt, we have you on Skype. You still there?
Hi. Hello.
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 Hello. Howdy.
What?
Howdy.
Howdy. How are you?
Oh, I'm better now.
Why? You hate talking to yourself?
No, too many voices. I mean, no problem.
Never bothered you
Someone
before.
up with Thorazine.
They've only grown in numbers.
So, I am going to, since it's Father's Day, I'm going to give the floor to LD and let him discuss all about his training and how he trained Matt and how Matt trained him.
You're going to give me the floor. That's the gravity of the situation?
Yes, that's the gravity of the situation.
Okay. Hi, Matt.
Hi.
Hi.
Father. Hello, Father.
Hello, parental unit.
Yes. I think that the best place for me to start would be for me to explain a little bit of my background, what it was like for me growing up. And it's a little personal, so, this is a trigger alert. It involves abuse, and it involves things that some people might consider unsavory, because the first 10 years of my life were very unusual in that I had a family situation, particularly on my paternal side. My father's father and grandmother, my step-grandmother, his stepmother, my father always had an uncomfortable relationship. It was very obvious. There was a lot of negativity between him and his step-grandmother. And, of course, I attributed it to, the old Cinderella theory. But I was made aware of something. I have one brother. He's 8.5 years older than I am. And that was another odd thing, because as is typical in families, I always wanted to do everything my big brother did. And I always wanted to be friends with his friends. And, 8.5 years, particularly when you're young, is a huge difference, which didn't stop me in very many ways. I kind of found ways to do things I wanted to do, but it did seem kind of odd, because my friends, might have had that kind of a span in their family through many children, but that's kind of a leap of faith. And when I questioned it, I was told, as I recall, by my mother, that, I was a surprise.
Surprise!
Surprise! So I later found out, which made it all sense from a family member, that in between us, my mother had had an abortion. And this was not at a time when abortions were something that women did with the freedom that they've enjoyed for the last 20, 30 years or so. And then I found out that the abortion was done without my father's consent. And then I found out that my step-grandmother was the catalyst or assistant in this. And then I found out that I was punishment. My father basically supposedly said that, well, you're not going to abort this one. And I was probably not consensual in my conception between my parents. So right then and there, that kind of explained a lot of the uncomfortability in the household growing up. And then when I was 10, it kind of mushroomed, and my parents moved to divorce, which also at that time was not something that was readily accepted as much as it has become. So within a year, some very odd coincidences took place, and I found myself being pressured to abandon my mother and go and live with my father, who eventually remarried, again in a very unusual dynamic relationship where it was more of a business partnership in the way it unfolded to me than it was an actual relationship. It was his money and her money. The whole thing was just really odd. And his entire family was pressuring me in one way or another to effectively abandon my mother and go live with him. And again, I found out that this was rooted in the fact that he didn't want to pay the $50 child support fee that was agreed to when the divorce was finalized. So that actually had an effect on some of my parenting choices early on, before I really was raised by Matthew. And that is the first key to what I have come to establish as parenting philosophy. That parents really aren't here to raise children. And when I say raise, I'm saying raise in the idea that we normally think of, a parent raising a child, but that the child actually is here to raise the parent. And when I say raise the parent in that light, I'm talking more of a soul evolutionary raising. Mm-hmm. So I wound up, after being on the board of directors of a New York regional mental health association, and then being asked to be vice chair of what's called Mahaney's, which was the collective association in New York State of all the regionals that was trying to work with the New York State legislature to establish a statewide platform that adapted to all the needs of all the regional mental health associations, and understand that the needs of a rural mental health association can be very different than the needs of an urban mental health association. Mm-hmm. And all through my schooling, and I was declared as a psych major when I entered college, psychology and counseling never made sense to me, because they have a dynamic where the counselor or psychologist has a threshold by which they judge a client's mental function and capability and health. And there's just so much going on in the world that for one person to be the arbiter of what mental health was, that never made sense to me. What wound up making sense to me was the concept of coaching. And I wound up going through a program through a company called IPEC. Mm-hmm. And the foundation of that company is to train the coach to get out of the client's way, to train the coach not to have any judgment as long as the client wasn't harming themselves or a threat to anyone else, you would never say, for instance, to a client, well, if I were you, I would do this. It was all very client-driven. And I found I adapted to that very well. And through it all, took on the niche of parent-sibling relationship coaching, because by that time, Matthew had come along and he was already elevating my soul and causing it to go through a lot of drastic changes. Matthew reminded me a lot of myself, and I was constantly being told, well, he's not you, he's his own person. And I never, Matt, did you ever feel that I was getting in the way of your evolution by trying to make you into my paradigm of what I thought you should be?
No, if anything, you were a pain in the butt in that you were always one step ahead of me. But no, no, I never felt
He
like
was bigger.
You were trying to mold me into your own little clone, basically.
Well, if I was one step ahead of you, how was I a pain in the butt? But that's another program.
You're that good.
You're that good.
You're too cagey.
Yeah.
Mr. Fantastic, eh? So,
Mr. Something.
yeah. So, and this was one of the things that I had to come to grips with, because even as a very young child, I was an extreme challenge to my parents, because I was, and this is going to come as a surprise to anybody who's actually watched the program, a bit of a smart ass.
No. Really?
Yeah.
How did that happen? And everybody kept that hidden from me? I'm telling you.
Listen, Twin Flame.
The veil has been lifted.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
I know that's a surprise to everyone. But the challenge for me was that as I began to mellow, racing past me in the smartass category is Matthew. And he is what I had hoped to become when I was 16, and far down the road of smartassery. So, yeah, I'm counting on him to...
carry the torch, so to speak?
I'm counting on him to be free with his smartassery. We are not FCC compliant, Matt, so have at it.
I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Yes.
That was actually really cool with the mic.
Yes, we, Matthew and I do that from time to time.
I too. I have CPAP. So.
So,
Geriatric jokes aside.
I, before my father died, one Father's Day, I wrote a song for him. I was writing quite a bit of song and lyric at that point. And just to give you an idea of the contentious nature of the relationship, with the intone of what Matt had taught me about optimism, the lyric is, Father, you wanted to be father, but what I needed was a dad. Perfect expected me to be perfect, and when I wasn't, you got mad. I've seen a lot of years go by. I've seen a lot of schemes go dry. I've had a lot of childhood dreams die. Why? Father, you always played a role. Father, stiff figure growing cold. But I needed you to understand me. You okay there, Ashley?
I'll be all right.
Yeah. Perfect. We could have had it so perfect if you'd have helped me grow and shown me life was so quicksandy. Now, that's not my favorite line, but...
Oh, quick, Sandy?
Yeah, quick.
Pulitzer Prize winner right there.
Yeah.
Golden Globes, Oscars, the football trophies. You get all of it. Lifetime supply of pizza, Peronis. Glenda's MagicalCreations.com. 16 inches. Special.
You know,
Just slamming all the.
That really doesn't matter until you realize that's a radius and not a diameter. Anyhow,
That's the mega pizza roll.
you tried to prepare me for the world with all the
it's
insults
greasy.
that you hurled. I wish the wisdom had been a little more pearled, and I thought, maybe next time we'll learn, maybe next time's our turn to share what we both yearn for. Father, I know you tried your best. Father, let's let the bitter rest just long enough to be a boy and a dad. Perfect, well, neither one of us is perfect, but then we didn't turn out so bad. And when I gave him that, I really wasn't sure how he'd feel about it. And he really liked it because he realized that it had summed up what he had come to realize was perhaps not the optimal parenting choices. And that is part of the process. You know, I don't know of any parent that I've ever spoken to who feels that they have made no mistakes and are able to say that to me without the benefit of some form of medication. So it's a process, and I think that's the most important thing for a parent and a child to understand. So that, all in all, was my background with my father. And he very much felt that his job was to prepare someone that was better qualified than he was to carry on the torch. And so that torch is now a little light in the sky, but for me,
Aim, set, match.
yeah, it's now become kind of fun for me because, you know, now my son is at a point in his life where he is looking at the potential of fatherhood and the choices he has to make and is going to make. And of course, remembering back on his childhood is scared to death. The old adage, well, you know, I hope your kid turns out like you did. Which Matt, I love you, but I wouldn't wish that on anybody. No, everybody's got to find their own way, and everybody has to, you know, be who they are. And, you know, I think it was last year, I think it was when you turned 30, a year or so ago, that, you know, I gave you your final evaluation. You remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that your final answer?
And it was basically, you know, if we haven't covered it, it was absolution. Is that how you remember it?
Yes.
Yeah, I never wanted you to feel responsible or regretful for any of the things you put us through.
I love the emphasis you put on that. You put us through.
Yeah.
In therapy because of you.
Own your shit. It's all your fault.
And again, that was another tenet that very early on I introduced into our parenting dynamic, because Matthew was a perfectionist. Do you remember that stage?
Excuse me, was?
Yeah. And very much so. He still has a very high quality ratio in his goal set, but very much so then, to the point where he didn't even want to try something that he didn't know how to do. And he would be very self-blaming, and he would sit there go, it's all my fault. And I finally said, come here. He said, what? I said, it's not your fault, it's my fault. And he said, how is it your fault? And I said, well, I married your mother. I didn't use the condom, and I talked her out of the abortion. It's all my fault, right? Is that how you remember it?
That's right.
Yeah. And you were very young, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. on a lot of different fronts. But you were very young when I gave you that. But, I tried to empower you in a lot of ways. I tried to give you as much power as you showed that you could reasonably manage, and tried never to hold you accountable for things that we hadn't explained to you.
Yeah. That's one thing that I've noticed a lot of people do to kids. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know about economics? What are you, stupid? And I'm like, the kid is 6. He's not going to know unless you tell him that's not prepackaged in the ingredients when you make the baby.
It's not in the bundle.
You don't shake it like this. If you can see my hand motions, you don't shake the baby.
It's not in the software bundle.
No, you got to install that later.
Yeah.
It's a patch.
Right.
The day one patch.
Plug and play.
So that's before the baby comes out.
Sometimes we need to reboot.
Yep. I was like, did you try turning it off and turning it back on again? That's attempted homicide. You're under arrest.
Yeah, that's illegal. So, by and large, and the one other thing that I put into the mix was something that came to me as, I was developing through psychology and the Mental Health Association Board of Directorships and all of the peripheral background I had, because I was very fortunate where when I was 18, I was living on a Native American reservation, and I was exposed to a number of different cultures growing up for many different reasons, and survived it all. But the concept that we, have heard of mama's boys and daddy's girls is basically a concept of unconditional love between a mother and a son and a father and a daughter. But conversely, there's also a role modeling mentorship relationship with, if you're carrying this forward, the parent of the same sex. So a little girl wants to grow up to be a mommy like her mother, and a little boy wants to grow up to be a daddy like his father. But what happens?
Or her father.
Or her father.
I mean, why not?
Well, that's where I'm going. I'm a little ahead, like Matt said.
2019, shake it up.
Yeah, like Matt said, I'm
Not
a
the
little
baby.
ahead of myself. So, what if you have a child who doesn't identify with his gender or her gender? So he doesn't want to grow up to be a man like his father. Maybe he wants to grow up to be like his mother. And, that's something that is important to take in. And the other piece that's important to take in is that we're hardwired to have two separate people. One as the role model parent, however the gender ratio of child identification to sex and that parent is, and one parent in the other piece. And it's very important to a child because children generally are very challenged by shades of gray. They're black and white conceptualization people until they get older and can really appreciate, variations in that. So
Just 50 Shades.
I was going there. I was waiting for a break. Like, not to be confused with 50 Shades of Grey. Your kid's like, Mommy, why is he spanking her? I don't get it. Honey, how'd you get Mommy's book? Please stop going through her bookcase.
yes, we don't take the toys to class as marimbas, but so the conceptualization, of course, is that it's important because it confuses a child if you're disciplining that child and you're the unconditional love parent, because then they're going to have trust issues because they're going to start feeling that they have to live up to some form of example. And in less civilized countries, parenting is done as a collective. And so it's very easy to manage that because you have plenty of people around to be the unconditional love people and the role model people. And in our society, as we are moving toward, it's not always easy to do. You have a lot of single parents that feel they have to take on both roles. And I'm not saying that the people that do that are bad people. They're certainly not. This is an ideal. And just as people have children that, as they blend families, they love and make their own, this is not something that is by blood, because as you see, I didn't really gravitate to be the role model that my father envisioned me to be. I got my role modeling from a number of different sources. So one of the reasons why it's a lot of fun for me to have Matt here tonight, and Matt, you will get a chance to have a little more opportunity to input. You're still there, right?
He hasn't fallen asleep yet. Maybe. Oh, nope, he's moving. Okay, he's still there.
Okay.
Present.
Bueller.
Yes, my little present. Do you remember when we would spend Father's Day together
Matt,
and do things?
Matt, before you answer that, we're just going to take a brief break. Gives you a second to wake up and stand up, move around,
Wiggle.
and then
Do the hokey pokey?
think about it, and then come back. So we'll be right back after these commercials.
Attention, this important consumer alert is brought to you by Annuity Action Network. Hey, did you know it's possible to receive upfront money from your monthly settlement payments? It's true. If you receive monthly payments from an annuity or a structured settlement and you need a lump sum immediately, then you need to call Annuity Action Network. With your cash today, you can pay off credit card debt, pay medical bills, fund your education, or improve your home. You don't need to wait. Call the Annuity Action Network now to get your fast cash with no hidden costs. And if you call today, we'll even send you a $100 cash gift card just for verifying your settlement payments and your contact information. If you have a structured settlement or an annuity and you want cash now, call Annuity Action Network right now.
800-296-1553. 800-296-1553. That's 800-296-1553.
I'm Liza Hotchkiss.
And I'm Johnny Hotchkiss, and we are Core Phenomena Research. And you're listening to Glenda's Dragon's Den on Wild FM.
And I'm Glenda, your host. We're just having a great time with Father's Day show. I'm parenting. And we still have Matthew on the line in Skype. I just want to remind everybody that if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please go to Glenda's Magical Creations and contact me that way instead of putting it out into the public, because some of this is it could be very touchy and very private for a lot of people. So Matt, do you remember the question your father asked you?
He does if he knows what's good for him.
Oh, boy.
Matt, I'll save you. Don't worry.
Just remind me, just for the viewers.
Remind him for the viewers. Is something about Father's Day?
Matt, do you remember when we would spend Father's Day together when you were younger and you didn't have a choice?
I always had a choice. I just always made the right one.
Very well played. Round of applause for that answer.
Yes.
It's very political.
Ask me if I want to do this the easy way or the hard way.
It's like you're going or you're going, so you might as well just come willingly.
So it'll be easier for all of us.
It'd be easier for all of us, huh?
But do you remember how we used to celebrate Father's Day?
Yeah, you asked me what I wanted to do.
Why?
Because celebration of you as a father doing.
He's trying to find the right way to lift up his dad.
Because it's all your fault.
Oh.
It's all your damn fault.
There you
Adventures in Parenting, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Hey, it's a good time. Yay.
That I'm a father, that is. Mm-hmm. So, and back when I was 18 and I was living on the Native American reservation, there were 4 children living with us.
By the way, not us. He's talking about previous.
When I was 18, honey.
I want to
I
make
ain't
sure,
18, yeah.
I want to make sure they understand that
It was
Matthew's
BGE
mom
before
is,
the Glenda
is somebody
era.
else, and the reservation was way before my
Way
time.
before your time.
Or would it be PGE, pre-Glenda era?
There you go.
PGE,
Yeah.
the pre-Glenda era.
So I would, split things up equally between the 3 children. So that was my way. But, with you were the one basically that got to decide what we did that day. And, that gave me a tremendous amount of satisfaction because that made it even more special, I think, for both of us. Do you recall having a pretty free hand with what we did that day, or did I push you in one direction or another, or what do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much up to me, and I had no clue what I wanted to do, but...
Well, you were like, what, 8? Were you 8? It's like, I had no idea what to do. I was 8.
Which time?
I don't know. I'm just making things up.
Yeah. See, you're not the only shit stirrer in the show, Matt.
I brought you a spoon.
Yeah.
And whose fault is that?
It's all your fault.
Oh, that was
that one's Glenda's fault because it's her show.
Nope.
Nope, she's not owning that.
Not today.
Nope, not today.
No,
This is your show, pal.
This is your show today, hon.
My show.
I
Okay.
handed it over.
This is your
Handed.
pile of crap you're stirring.
Yeah, all yours.
So,
Just brought the spoons.
and again, I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do with Father's Day, but that was just the way things went down in our house. I always tried to, as you raised me up, it didn't start out that way. It was a little rocky, in the beginning. But I always tried to, help you to feel how cherished you were and appreciated you are, and still very much so. So with all that,
Aw, it's a Hallmark commercial.
yep.
I'm kidding.
With all that, Matt, what do you feel were the things that you would do differently? And I'm not talking about necessarily specific things. You I think have a pretty good memory of a lot of the values that I tried to raise you with. As you look at your transformation, because my viewpoint as a parent was that my goal was obsolescence. When you no longer needed me as a parent, then I had effectively done what a parent is here to do. So, philosophically, what would you do differently in your mind? Where do you feel philosophically I erred?
Oh, where do I start? No. Gave me so much power. No. Oh, okay. well, as now I'm older and I see the light, so to speak. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase it without
being incredibly insulting.
We're not FCC compliant. Let it rip.
Well, there are times I felt, I guess, a little too sheltered. Not that you didn't give me the independence that I guess you felt that I could handle, but I guess what I would do differently is try to instill more, I guess, responsibility in a way. I mean, you certainly gave me the tools that I needed. It's just a little more of a push I probably would have found beneficial, if that makes sense.
Okay, but I'm still having a challenge trying to understand what that would look like in comparison to what actually went down. So where do you feel that you weren't given enough responsibility, for instance?
Well, I mean, I appreciate that. I was given the opportunity to, focus on, my schoolwork and, any like extracurricular activities, but I probably could have benefited from, being forced to learn how to manage my time better, like, having a job on the side, and building up that work history, as well as, and then and balancing that with the schoolwork. So I would learn to try to manage any distractions.
Good old time management.
Yeah, and just mostly that. It's something I, not to blame you, even though it's all your fault. It's something I still
Nice save.
challenge with.
You gotta dunk it. It's like, all your fault. Poof.
So at what point do you feel that should have been instituted?
Well, probably my, I guess, mid or later teenage years. I don't know, you're a parent, you're supposed to know this stuff.
Yeah, it's supposed to be prepackaged knowledge. We're not just flying by the seat of our pants 24/7. And I'm just thinking, crap, I didn't do that for my son. Ooh, I broke it already. Damn it. He's not even an adult yet, and I broke it.
Yeah. Oh, let's try again.
It's like, wait, no, it's not an etch a sketch. Don't shake it.
But then again, they
Here
already...
at Wild FM, we do not condone the shaking of children of any size or age.
You already achieved perfection, and that's why they stopped at one.
So, in your teenage years, you had a pretty full schedule. Aside from school, you were very involved in a number of different sports, we'll call it. Mm-hmm. And one in particular, as I recall, even in, I don't recall whether it was junior high school or high school. How old were you when you were thinking of wrestling?
Oh boy. I was at least 14.
Okay. So, at that juncture, your trainer for your other athleticism wanted me to have your wrestling coach tell him what you were supposed to do, because he wanted you for every possible moment that you weren't in school. So I'm going to presume that we're not talking about anything before that, because before that your time was pretty well booked. Is that how you recall it?
I suppose. I mean, you don't want to necessarily. It may not have been my best interest to be overloaded as well.
And, that's what I was thinking, because at that same time, in school, prior to high school, and I think even through high school, you were still having accommodations and taking an inordinate amount of time to do your homework. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Partly that is also on me. Doesn't quite help to have something on in the background.
So, I mean, do you remember how stressed you were about all the homework you had, and frustrated, and as it was, you were limited fairly extensively in your electronics. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
But it was also tied to your success in school. So I used that as a motivator, for you to be successful in school. And, at the point where you felt that you were comfortable with juggling all of that, you did have some opportunities, I think, working in a garage.
Right.
So, again, it's an interesting conundrum, because here we are today. And do you think that if I'd have put you under more stress then, it would have made a difference in your ability to manage time today?
Hard hitting questions today.
But it also could have made it worse.
Well, that's the whole thing. It's hard to determine.
It really worked out.
Yeah.
That point of the last straw, and here we are today. You have a successful career, correct?
So far.
All right, and your work is pretty fulfilling. Your work environment, the people you work with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There were quite a few of them at your wedding, as I recall. So I mean, and the wedding wasn't next door to the job, so a number of them made a trip of several hundred miles just to be at your wedding. You're happily married?
I'm married. Yes, happily married.
What? Ooh, that was close. We would have seen a ghost flying through the wall as your wife was.
Quick save there, quick save.
And thus ended the story of Matthew.
Yeah, that was it.
Never to be seen again.
So, just so everyone understands, Matthew was engaged for 11 years.
Nice.
Not engaged. No, not engaged. You were dating for 11 years.
Same difference.
I thought it was the 11th anniversary the day before.
So you know what? Maybe we
the
should
first
just
day.
Get the married thing happen. You just want to do it for a laugh.
But 10 years. Okay, I'll give you 10 years. I thought it was the 11th anniversary, but even 10 years.
We
So-
were our 11th anniversary.
That's really cool.
We were dating for 10. We were engaged for a little over 1.
Right. No, I misspoke engaged, but the two of you were going out exclusively double digits.
That's
Correct?
like longer than most marriages nowadays.
Correct?
Yes, that's exactly what he said to me.
So, and she had met me
Well, if she survived that, she's sticking around.
prior to the marriage. So
Bless her heart.
she
Bless her heart, indeed.
so she understood what she was getting into.
Or she's out of her mind, but yeah.
Well, yeah. And so
I'm
apparently next week's show we'll be talking about divorce.
Oh boy.
But
Matt'll be back again. He's like a giant beard, chip sticking out of it. That's been rough.
Oh, wait, that's LD.
but she knew what she was getting into, is my point. So, you were in a successful relationship for 10 years before marriage. You put yourself primarily, when I say put yourself through, sure, there was financial support and other guidance from us, but you did the work through an extremely challenging college curriculum that you really only were accepted into because you did so well in high school, correct?
It helped.
Good job.
Is that correct, Matt?
He said it helped.
Well, but, as I recall, you actually had your department head for the only program you applied to go to bat for you and effectively plug you in because he was so impressed with you and your academics prior to applying to college, right?
Right.
And the other piece of this is that back when you were in kindergarten, and no, I'm not going there, you outsmarted your principal, which was a pattern that we've seen several times throughout your life, because you outsmarted your principal when you were 3 in Montessori.
Sounds like they need smarter principals.
I remember that fondly.
But because you outsmarted your principal in kindergarten, he tried to label you severely emotionally disturbed.
He was just butthurt. He got schooled by a 3-year-old or 7-year-old, however old you are. And
4 or 5, depending.
But
it's like, I just got schooled by someone barely out of diapers.
But he still did it. Mm-hmm. And, you and I got together and determined what you felt the best course of action would be. And we both decided it would be to get you away from that principal. And so you wound up re-mainstreaming back in middle school when intramurals came into play and all of that. So your pathway to success has been somewhat extraordinary, and you were actually asked to come back to your special ed school because the principal was retiring the year you graduated college. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And he felt you had done so well that he wanted you to speak to the graduating class at his retirement graduation to let them know that it wasn't a dead end, that with the right amount of advocacy and support, they could graduate with, I believe you have 2 4-year degrees and a minor that you achieved in 5 years from Penn State.
Damn. God damn.
So somewhere you figured out the time management thing. You see where I'm going with this?
I'm sorry, Matt. I didn't realize this was going to be a 2-hour lecture that you were on the short end of the stick of.
Yep. Sorry about that.
You didn't see this coming? Hello?
I didn't know what the heck was going on. I'm like, all right, let's talk about.
Well,
parenthood.
I'm just working because as a parent, albeit that Glenda and I have something of a little bit of an advantage over, say, most parents, but there's still free will involved, and you weren't coerced to do the work you did to earn the 2 degrees and minor, and these aren't fluff degrees, right? This is a 4-year degree in electrical engineering and a 4-year degree in physics and a math minor, correct?
Yeah, that's it.
In 5 years.
Yeah.
I think most people would agree that shows a bit of time management. You see where I'm going with this?
Or I somehow get very lucky.
Sorry for the lecture,
Yes.
Matt. Like I said, I did apologize in advance.
So
But-
what else is there to parenting besides, lecturing your kid for like
To death.
45 minutes?
Well, what there is to parenting is twofold, other than, what I laid out as a general philosophy of, don't try to, Xerox another copy off, and respect the fact that they need an unconditional love parent and a role model parent, and the unconditional love parent needs to be from whatever gender they don't identify with, and the role model is the gender they do identify with. But the key is that no matter what you do and no matter what success the child has, the child is going to be very malleable and, manage to work their way through all of your bumbling maneuvers and find a level of success, that they can, given a fair amount of support. So, as we look back on the whole time management thing, I mean, do you kind of see it from my perspective now of, you were pretty stressed out in junior high school and high school. Do you remember?
No.
It's like, dude, he was like 13. I can't remember half the stuff I did when I was 13. Though I do remember that one time the teacher made me flip my card to red in 4th grade. I was still pissed. No, it was 3rd grade. I lied.
You'd be surprised what he remembers.
It's like, I didn't do anything, and they made me flip my card. And maybe I shouldn't have tried to forge my mom's name on. Well, no, that's because I got the red card. Anyway, we just went into a crazy sidebar.
No, that's
Continue without
okay.
me.
That's part of why we're here, because that's parenting. And it's not just all about me, but the key, Matt, is that I think part of your concern about parenthood is that no matter what you do, invariably, the kid's going to say, well, I would have benefited from this as opposed to that. And
So this is a really long way of making a point. Ugh.
And now you understand poor Matt.
16 inches.
It was a lot longer than 16 inches.
Yeah.
Not
Oh, there goes the level.
That is a radius. So
Commercial break. We'll be right back.
Oh, what a hell of
With this
a... Wow.
Dragon's Den. Just stay with us.
Please. Try not to choke on it.
Are you an active stock market investor? Well, then you know these 3 key words: buy, sell, hold. Those 3 magic words can make or lose you money in the stock market. What if we can show you a time-tested tool that's been helping stock market investors succeed for over 30 years? It's called VectorVest, an amazing system designed to make smart investing easy. The VectorVest system analyzes, sorts, and ranks over 19,000 stocks every day and tells you when to buy, what to buy, and when to sell any stock to maximize your profits in less than 10 minutes a day. And if you call right now, you can test drive our amazing VectorVest system risk-free for 30 days for just $9.95.
800-958-0341. 800-958-0341. 800-958-0341. That's 800-958-0341.
Have you written a book? You can become a published author with Dorrance Publishing, the nation's oldest publishing services company. Countless authors have trusted Dorrance for nearly 100 years to bring their book to the market. Our professional team will edit your text, design your book pages, and create an appealing, eye-catching custom cover. Plus, our authors benefit from a custom book promotion marketing campaign that makes your book available where people buy books, like Amazon and brick-and-mortar bookstores. So make this free call right now to claim your free author's guide to publishing. Don't wait another day. Take one step closer to realizing your dream of becoming a published author and seeing your name in print. You've already written a book, so the next thing to do is make this free call right now to Dorrance Publishing and get your free guide to publishing. Call right now.
800-847-1362. 800-847-1362.
Hey, this is Itzy Sweeney of New Morning Holistic Health Services, and you are tuned in to Glenda's Dragon's Den, where the wild and untamed meet on Wild FM.
Welcome back to Glenda's Dragon's Den. I'm Glenda, your host, and this is the Father's Day edition, parenting. LD, you wanted to say something?
That's pretty funny today.
Yeah.
So this is the time in the show where I invite everyone who's interested in finding out how Glenda has accomplished some of what she's been able to accomplish given some of the challenges that she's had along the way, to go to glendasdragonsden.com. And there you'll see buttons. The first one that you might see is for Glenda's Magical Creations. Mm-hmm. And that is where you can avail yourself, if you would like, of some of Glenda's personal one-on-one coaching, mediumship,
Reiki.
If you have any specific ideas or questions that you want to reach out to her with, including feedback on tonight's show, that is the place to do so. There's another button for her CTFO page. Glenda uses, and I use as well, CBD oil. Glenda has had a tremendous amount of pain all through her life, and is finally finding some alleviation with these top-of-the-line CBD oil products.
Correct.
And they come with a 60-day empty bottle money-back guarantee, because CBD oil doesn't always treat what you immediately think it's going to treat and help alleviate those symptomatic presentations. It sort of goes where it realizes the greater challenge is and then works its way around. So it does sometimes take a while to find benefit. Glenda got it pretty much right away. Mm-hmm. But yes, to be fair to you, the products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee. And then there's the Force to be Reckoned with button.
Yes.
That takes you to her non-lethal product line if you want to have a little more confidence out in the street. There are products that are non-lethal but will give you a fairly high level of self-protection and confidence. And there are some you can actually fly with.
Correct.
So that is in and of itself. Did you want to say something, Glenda?
Yes, and then you forgot the aromatherapy one.
I didn't forget it. It just looked like you wanted to say something.
Oh, I do want to say something.
Oh, so why don't you say something about that? Yes.
Glenda, why don't you tell us about aromatherapy?
Aromatherapy.
Well, that's doTERRA aromatherapy.
doTERRA, yes.
Which is a leading name.
Yes. It is used by me in my classes, in the home, in the car, cooking, bath, showers.
And
almost
Matthew,
everything.
you use it as well, right?
Yes, I do. And my wife uses it.
Are we there, Matt?
Are we there, Matt?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now I can.
There.
Oh.
So,
Hey. Yes, I use it. My wife uses it.
Yeah.
I have a colleague who uses it. His wife uses it.
Yeah, there you go.
So, and it's certainly, again, if you have any questions about any of those products, either in the appropriate use, you can drop Glenda a line at Glenda's Magical Creations.
Correct.
So, Matt, now that you've had a few minutes or moments,
Now that you had that scotch and water.
What water?
Take the edge off. Oh. You drink it straight. Like a man.
Scotch and vodka. It just looks like water.
Why would I ruin scotch with vodka? What's wrong with you?
Well, as I recall, you seemed to like Scotch and Drambuie when you were a little younger. So.
Yes, those pair well together.
I don't know about you, but I love myself a good Brandy Alexander because apparently I am from the 1920s.
Well, all righty then. We'll get you a slice of Nestle Road pie and you'll be off.
Yes.
So, but seriously.
My Russians.
Yeah. We're going to leave politics out of that. But, again.
No.
I'm sorry?
Nothing.
No.
No.
You open that door. Go ahead.
no.
Yeah.
All he said was Putin on the Ritz.
God.
Oh, boy.
Stalin sits Putin on the Ritz.
And there goes my likeness to Peter Boyle.
All I see is freaking Putin shirtless, like put it on a giant Ritz cracker.
Yeah, that's the meme.
Classic.
And Lindsey Graham is the cracker. But anyway.
Is it 16 inches?
Not even on a good day.
Arm.
Not even on a good day.
It's cold. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I was in the pool.
It's the vulgar boatman. But anyway. So, do you understand how many things go into those decisions about, where to put the focus and where to apply the pressure and where not to apply the pressure? Because
about as many things as I put in my decisions? Yeah, okay. I apologize. I retract my...
No. It's not an apology thing. It's just parenting isn't a science. It's an art. And the bottom line is, where are you now? Are you pretty much in a place that, you're getting a fair amount of satisfaction and confidence and the ability to accomplish what it is you want to do?
Are you trying to get a Yelp review from being a parent? I'm trying. All right, what I'm basically saying here is I need a 5-star Yelp review.
I'm retired. You know, I've already done my thing, but Glenda still coaches. Okay.
You should have put a recommendation on your LinkedIn page, like, "Yo, Matt, help me out here."
Like
I
this.
need a recommendation.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
But you know, I'm not
stars.
looking to talk you into any kind of retraction. It's just, you know,
Yeah, Yelp review.
again, in the big picture, you know, where I started out by saying my goal was obsolescence. Can I go now?
Yeah, you can go. Doors right there. Bye.
The bathroom is down the hall.
Yeah.
Oh!
Leaving that alone too.
Oh, boy.
I'm not the one that cracked the seat.
Now, I just want. Oh, my God. We went there.
Sorry, I was feeling a little flushed.
I need a drum set back
This
here.
show's going right down the toilet.
No, seriously.
Yes.
Parenting
Does not need a overview.
come with instructions.
No.
And every decision you make, you try to look at every single angle. But let's face it, you're making a decision when they're 3, 5, 10 years old that will affect the rest of their life. And there's so many variables from that age to when they get to be grown up. It's impossible. And all you can do is, at that moment,
Hold on by the seat of your pants and pray to God you don't kill the thing.
and not attached to your success of the ungrateful bastard.
Yeah, and I do have to agree with your point that parenting is an art form. It's just there's some people that are the Donna Dewberrys of parenting. Megan, that reference is for you. I think about 5 people are going to get that, and some people are like Leonardo da Vinci. Donna Dewberry is like on public access, and she like to teach people the joy of painting, and anybody can paint. And I'm like, and they all look like garbage flowers. Congratulations, you slapped some paint on the wall.
Nailed it.
The Donna Dewberry of parenting.
oh, lordy, lordy. So, yes, it is an art. And it's
Some
a
macaroni
very delicate and thin line from a piece of art that you would be willing to hang on the wall.
It's like the
Okay,
macaroni
I
pictures
think
of
any
parenting.
reference to hanging a child
No.
is in poor taste.
It's like, we're just all over the place. I'm shaking children, you're hanging them. We're gonna get arrested.
And for the record, I have.
For the police record?
For the record, I do not advocate hitting or hanging
Or nailing.
or nailing.
Oh God,
or
no! I don't
shaking
need
any
that
kids.
No! Danger! Warning! Warning, Will Robinson! Get out!
I
So
just
please
want to
check
make
out
that clear.
glendasdragonsden.com.
I'll go there tonight, and there'll be 25 emails.
All from the FBI.
Summons, yeah.
Hey, excuse me, Glenda. You were talking about 16 inches and hanging and children.
I thought this was a family show.
The family picture.
With 16 inches, you're going to have a big family.
Oh my goodness! Every sperm is sacred.
And we do apologize for the person who made the mistake of putting it in the chat room a few weeks
Lost our
back.
stand-up career.
It just resurfaced. I'm sorry.
It just resurfaced.
Wait a
The
minute.
Loch Ness Monster.
Resurfaced?
16 inches research.
And the jokes
Yes, I
just
did.
You mean like
keep coming.
polyurethane?
They just keep coming.
Happy
And
Father's
the hits
Day.
just keep on coming. Anyway,
So, Matthew, now that I gave you extra time, hopefully you thought of an answer.
Can't even
to
remember
what?
the question.
But, I mean, now that you see that even someone with the incredible support and nurturing that I had as a child, which I went into in nauseating detail earlier, was able to manage to pull one out of my hat and, successfully parent someone who's reasonably grateful.
It doesn't help that we all have the giggles. Someone think someone's putting nitrous oxide in the air.
Well, it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No, really.
You forgot the unicorns. So.
And now we're getting colorful.
Well, we are coming up on Pride Week.
Yay!
The bottom line is, Matt, as you look to parenting, can you try to release some of your concerns about being the perfect parent? Because there is no perfect parent. And I should know because I was one, and look how freaking grateful you are.
He's like, I love Matt. It's like, believe me, I know.
Still looking for that.
Yeah.
For that 5-star review.
5-star Yelp review, yeah. So that in my next life I can show it.
It's like, no, I'm a 5-star rated dad.
From
Look.
my past life.
It's like,
But you're a woman
son
now.
give you a Yelp
Don't worry
review?
about that.
It's like, you had your son give you a Yelp review? Back in the hole.
Wait, no, one's enough.
If it's 16 inches.
Oh, well, never. I'm sorry.
Anyway.
Poor.
So,
Hold on, let me get my gray shirt.
Is part of your concern the realization of the challenge that you feel you were to me as a child?
Yes.
Okay. How'd you turn out?
Good enough.
That's the secret of parenting right there. Good enough.
Good enough.
Good enough.
Thank you, next.
It's like you watch your kid go off to the graduation stage.
Yeah.
Trips over himself.
Well, he made it.
You're just like, he didn't break his neck.
He made it.
Good enough.
Yeah.
He got the sheepskin.
He didn't fall.
He didn't die.
Oh, God.
It's every parent's dream that when a child gets
He
the
tripped, but he
sheepskin, it's
didn't
not
fall.
4X. But anyway.
I hear Clorox in there somewhere.
There's something about X's I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Just let it go. Let that one go.
It was a natural question.
Let that one go. It was not a natural question. Let that go.
So,
Just let it go.
I'll try
Let it go into the light.
Let it go.
Let it go into the light, Carol Ann. Let it go into the light.
Let it go into the light. There it goes. It goes into the light. Bright light. Oh, there.
okay. That was last week's show.
Oh.
2 weeks ago. So anyway, Matt, did you have a good time?
Father.
Did you have a good time?
With what?
Still having a good time.
There you go. With both hands tied behind your back, which is the real trick. Did I have a good time?
You're still having a good time.
And there you go. So what is it you're concerned about?
Yes.
Best answer ever.
Yes.
This is how we get the Pulitzer. This is an amazing interview.
The Pulitzer? You're transcribing this thing
Yes.
for the hearing impaired?
47. To go in line with the last
I
question.
wonder if you can get a Pulitzer for closed captioning.
We could try.
Yeah, what the heck?
The most creative closed
Now who
caption.
wants the Yelp review? Sorry, Ashley.
No, it's fine.
It's okay.
Go for it. But, you know, you do the best you can. And that is the takeaway, because and that,
much work.
when we go
I know, right?
when we go back to the song that I gave my dad, you know you tried your best. That's the key. There are a lot of parents that may not, for whatever reason, be able to give their best.
Yeah.
Is there any question, not that you'll have all the answers, not that you'll be the perfect parent, but are you going to do your best? Take all the time you need, Matt.
He's like, oh, I guess.
So what is your concern? Because no matter what you do, the bastard's still going to rake you over the coals.
And be ungrateful at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, then I did my job, I guess.
Yeah.
See, the point of having a child is to torture them with terrible humor.
And
continue.
So many dad
I've
jokes.
found my special purpose.
This is the life we've chosen.
And just remember, everyone, sometimes it's okay to be the Donna Dewberry of parenting.
You should
As
have
long as you're doing your best.
your best at any time.
Yep.
Because on the other side, I mean, Matt, it's daunting to surpass me. So what's the worst that could happen? You just lower the bar and the kid just kind of walks over it, you know?
Wow.
I always say reduce speeding by raising the speed limit. So.
And there you go. So, you know, the two of you are level-headed individuals. You both realize.
I'm sorry, which two?
Whoever you use your 16 inches to procreate with.
Oh, and here we go again with the 16 inches.
All right, what about the other
I'm not
5
sure
inches?
who wants to be probed by 16 inches. Jesus Christ, that's like the size of a baby's arm.
Oh, thank you. Oh,
Baby what? So, you know, the two of you are going to do your best. You're going to, well, I know she's going to read up on it.
Someone's got to study.
And I will try to
I was like,
listen
all
to what
right,
she
we don't put it in
lays-
hydrochloric acid. That's bad for the baby.
Isn't great for the parent either. So, you know, what is your concern?
It's just so much work.
It's scary.
Okay,
you can't
but again, you know, work is a question of effort against satisfaction, right?
Cue the music. I can't get no. Sorry. Continuing. Look, I'm trying to
You
keep
can have the
myself from
16
passing
inches
out.
for the next show, okay?
No, thank you.
I'm sensing a lot of friction.
I'm just ribbing.
Oh, God!
Don't you be ribbing?
I am not turning this show ever again to him.
That's a good idea.
Why did it have to take this to learn that?
I do
As soon as you
apologize.
told me that Larry's going to be in charge of the show, I'm like, oh, here we go.
Even she knows.
Well,
Like Sam Jackson, hold on to your butts.
It's my gift for him, you know. I'm cheap. I don't want to go out there and have to
It's
walk
like you could
around.
have taken him to Burger King and got him something off the dollar menu. You'd have to give him a whole show.
Have it your way.
It takes two hands.
Anyway.
Pick up those buns.
Got the Father's Day clapbacks.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Go to Glenda'sDragonDen.com. See ya.
That was the end of the Matthew Davidson Santa special, the sit-down Skype special.
So here we are, okay, 30 years later.
Couple of
Little more.
31.
30 years later and some change.
Some change.
Change is good.
Oi.
Do you feel, and you know that, I did a fair amount of work so that I could, at the end of the day, say, hey, I did everything I could do. Do you feel that my satisfaction level against the ratio of work I did is worth it?
For you.
He's so...
No, but in all seriousness, what my concern is, we've acknowledged the fact that I experienced a fair level of stress just going through school, and I'm not saying that I'm really struggling just in life right now, but that kid comes along, I recognize that it's an infinite responsibility, and yes, I can do my best, but there's still...
Matt, all you can do is one day at a time.
And just keep in mind, they just keep pooping.
Just keep going.
What?
Keep on swimming. Keep on swimming.
They just keep pooping. It's like, how can one thing make so much poop?
And tiny little
because
things
they eat
too.
so much, and it's because they're growing.
It's the freaking soy milk.
Alrighty.
It's just going to be terrifying like anything else.
Yeah.
Like when you first got your own apartment or you went off to college for the first time and left the nest.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? That was the best ever.
I know, right?
I mean, I missed you guys so much.
I was like, oh my God, I'm so sad.
And you were just down the road, too. But again, the premise is that I'm not here to raise you. You're here to raise me. So effectively, how did you do? I mean, you remember some of the things that I've done as a, parent that, were, without a question, I realized and I evolved and I feel I became a better parent. But do you feel you've raised me well?
Yeah, I think I did all right.
So I don't know. Not my best work, but it'll do. 3 stars.
And look what you had to start with.
He wants 4 stars.
He wants 4 stars?
4 stars.
Oh.
Yeah. And 2
now
snaps.
I want the Yelp review.
You trying to get on Angie's list?
I don't know her well enough.
Oh, okay.
I'll start with Craigslist. Lower my
There you
standard.
go.
Oh, hell, I should have been the unconditional love parent.
No pics available. Any location.
You love you.
There you go. So, again, Matt, seriously, do you feel that I've evolved from the asshole that you started with to, a reasonable human being?
Oh my God, this is after you raised him? What is wrong with you, Matt?
I was like, how bad was it before?
Oh,
I
you
did
don't wanna
my
know.
best.
You did your best. I mean, that's
We
all
appreciate it,
anybody.
Matt.
Yes, we do appreciate that.
Yeah, imagine how bad he was before. I'm his saving grace. Look at him. Look at him.
He's still alive, isn't he? That's good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still alive.
Well,
Mostly.
you.
I want you all to go to your windows. Open your windows and say, I've had it up to here, and I can't take it anymore. Oh, wrong movie.
Wrong movie.
Oh, boy.
Wrong movie. Wrong movie.
So you're not the finished product. You're not the parent that you're going to be 30 years from now.
Nope.
And that's the key. You don't have to know the outcome. You don't have to be more than, okay, when somebody asked you what you wanted to be when you grew up, do you remember what you would tell them?
The best Matt that I can be.
And it's the same with parenting.
Mm-hmm.
All right? You are here to be that unique parent for that or those children. And as daunting as it seems, you've got DNA, memory that you can draw from.
Oh, God, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
That realization
I love your
out.
prayers in the middle of the show. Like, oh, God, I'm sorry.
It's just,
Larry starts talking, and then Glenda starts praying. Oh, God, I'm so sorry.
So do you have any questions, Matt? And with that, I think we're going to go and take a final break.
Yeah.
So you're going to ask him if he has a question. And like, all right, never mind.
No, I'm going to give him some time to think about it, and we're going to come back after a break.
I have time to think of questions.
It's like we're going to have question time with Matt when we come
We'll
back
be
from the
right
break.
back. Glenda's Dragon's Den.
Yay!
When I need a cut, I go to Diamond Cuts. Ain't no half cutting there. Oh, yeah. Woo, man, at Diamond Cuts, their barbers got the freshest styles. Anything from fades, Caesars, high tops, blowouts, shape up, tape ups, and much more. Their barbers can cut men, women, children, young and old. Stop by Diamond Cut at 144 Pocono Boulevard in Mount Pocono, PA. Or just call at 570-216-4912. Ain't no half cutting there, baby paw. Yo, Stan, yo, Ant, yo, Black, yo, Light Skin, yo, E, where y'all at?
If you
Hi, welcome back to Glenda's Dragon's Den. This is Glenda, your host, and this is our Father's Day show. We're discussing parenting, and LD is just... Oh, wait, Matthew, do you have any questions for your father? Dum-dum. Dum-dum.
Matthew,
where are you?
Yes.
you're just trying to get a drink of water for crying out loud.
Scotch. That 21-year-old scotch that I got you for your 21st birthday.
He's downing the whole bottle.
Yeah.
I would too.
Yeah, there's none left. No. I've moved on. No.
Swish and spit.
Oh.
So,
My question is, what the hell were you thinking? No. Yeah. I don't have questions at this time. I'm sure they will come.
Like 3
Later.
o'clock in the morning when you're trying to fall asleep.
Well, if you do have a question, send it to go to Glenda's Magical Creations and email me.
Or
And
just like
just
text
send the
you, like, yo,
question.
Glenda, about this thing.
I know, but it's funnier this way
Oh, okay.
because I'll make him follow the same directions everybody else has to follow. No questions at all, Matt? This is your opportunity. And don't worry, I'm over here with them. You're very far away. So I'll make sure he won't get on an airplane to kill you.
Ah. Any questions? Any parting words for people? I don't know. In regards to parenting.
Do you feel any more confidence about your ability I mean, when I look at you, you are my best image of what someone in their 30s is.
I look good. So.
It's like, I make this look good.
So, you're going into this with a lot of support. Do you feel a little more confident about the process?
I feel better, yeah.
Of course he does. I feel better. I feel great.
I feel better.
Okay, so just remind her that, the check has to be in the mail within a week.
And remember, 4-star Yelp review.
4-star Yelp review.
Make sure you use the right SEO keywords.
Yes, please.
Because he needs to boost his customer engagement ratings. Or something. Something, social media manager something.
.com.
Something dark side.
Before we go any further,
Something complete.
Yeah.
in the graciousness of Father's Day today, this year, it also happens to fall on Glenda's birthday.
Oh, lucky Glenda.
Hey! You know how many times I had to share my birthday with Father's Day? Lots.
Yes, but this time,
This time.
you're going to get a happy ending.
What? I don't want to know.
No, wait.
All 16
I don't
inches
get
of it?
I don't get the happy ending. Remember that. It's the guys who get the happy ending.
Like I said, this
you get
time
the morning wood?
you're going to get the happy ending.
Ew, I did it to myself. Ew, my third eye. Ew.
She got a 16 pounds.
So,
That'll realign your chakras.
All of mine are ruined.
would you all join me
I'm completely ruined.
in singing happy birthday to Glenda? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Oh, wait, we can't do that. It's copywritten.
It's all right. Michael's dead. Happy birthday.
Is Michael the guy that owned it?
Yeah.
Oh. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Oh,
it's
Lordy,
done.
Lordy, Lordy, Lordy. Thank you, everyone.
That was that's gonna be on our new album.
For the record, I'm going to be, let me count. 58, I think. Wait, what years? Yes, 58.
I think I'm 34. I don't know. I don't know how old I am.
I don't know.
You have a birthday too?
On July 3rd.
Oh.
July 3rd.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep, she's a Leo.
everybody,
No, I'm a Cancer.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Cancer.
everybody, we get to sing happy birthday to Ashley on July 13th.
Yeah, 3rd. July 3rd.
Oh,
Yeah,
third. Third.
Which is not a Sunday.
Well,
I'm saved.
we'll squeeze it in there somewhere.
Oh, no.
Yes.
It doesn't always have to fall on the day.
No.
Does it?
No, but I was trying to keep.
Because she really doesn't want us showing up outside of the condo and singing it there on the day.
When you say condo, you make my living arrangement so glamorous.
Yes, well, I don't want people to actually know.
Where you're living.
I live in a condo on the 30th floor.
Yeah.
There you go. No.
No.
All the way in California.
And actually, I'm going to a full moon fire ceremony tonight.
Really?
Yes, after this, we're going and we're celebrating and we're taking drums and
For a second, it almost sounded like you're saying, and we're taking drugs. And I'm like,
Nope.
not necessarily compliant, just letting it hang out. All 16 inches of it. Woo! Woo!
And for those of you that have the picture of
We're
Mongo
taking a
lighting
lot
the
of drugs.
cigar,
I was like, Glenda.
Nope. We're taking
Drums.
D-R-U-M-S.
Drums.
okay, now that we've beaten that to death,
Oh boy. Now
we can form a conga line.
I know you spoke about the unconditional love versus the role model parent. And you were blessed to be able to be there for your son and be the role model, and then he would have his unconditional love at the same time. A lot of people don't have that opportunity. I want to clear that up. Sometimes,
Well, I addressed that.
Yeah, but sometimes I want to make sure I go over that.
Yeah, that's the ideal.
That's the ideal. There are a lot of situations where a man has to be unconditional parent and role model for whoever, and vice versa. A woman has to do it because whatever the situation is,
Yeah.
they end up being a single parent at that point in their life. And even at that, in those situations, all you can do is the best you can do.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're giving it your all and you're doing what you can at that very moment, that's all anybody can expect of you.
Yeah.
And nobody comes with instructions. I wish they did, because my life would have been a whole heck of a lot easier than having three that were completely different. And
like you're trying to make a cake and it keeps coming out weird every time. It's like,
every
this
time
is not how I planned it
and
at all.
everyone likes a different flavor. So, you just do what you can at any given moment.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that either growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I floundered quite a bit until I was able to really get the unconditional love role model straight. So I had the unconditional love.
Right.
The role model.
Trying to kill anyone was about as.
Yeah. So, I struggled all through high school into college till I was able to straighten that piece out. And again, we're malleable.
Right.
And, the proof of the pudding, as they say, is in the eating. Who am I with?
I don't know. You're with Glenda?
Yeah. So I must be doing something right.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is he kissing ass?
Yeah. That's not going to get you.
Well, it's your birthday, and I figured I'd start early so I could finish on time.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Even
I think Matt just vomited.
The little
On
wretch.
that note, time to go. Bye, everyone.
Matt and all my kids also vomiting right
There
about
goes
now.
the entire audience running out of the room.
They're all on the other line going, "Oh my God, I just went too much."
So, Matt.
Yeah.
Parting shots?
What shots?
Parting shots. Like any final words before we end this.
You get the last word.
Live show.
Oh boy.
Time's up.
What?
What's
Nothing.
that? Oh.
I'm speechless.
You're speechless? Yeah, it's your last comment. Just wiped his brain. Larold.
Unfortunately, he didn't get that from me.
Well, thank you for Dad for doing your best.
And despite that,
That sounds like you're giving him a participation trophy. Thank you, Dad, for doing your best.
you finished.
How does this
Congratulations.
Thank you for playing.
Thank you for the torture.
Thank you for showing
2
up and having a
hours.
pulse today.
Thank you for the torture you did. You put me through today.
And yesterday, the day before.
The sad thing is, this is really nothing.
Oh my. Uh-huh.
Hey, Dad.
That's okay.
Thank you for coming home.
It's like, it was getting a little dicey. You went out for that milk. You were gone for like half an hour. Then I realized, oh wait, it was traffic.
Does anybody remember the old Father's Day song by a legendary comedian? Today, Father, is Father's Day.
Oh.
We're giving you a tie. It's not much we know. It is just our way of showing you we think you're a regular guy. You say that it was nice of us to bother, but it really was a pleasure to trust. For according to our mother, you're our father, and that's good enough for us.
Alrighty then.
On that musical note.
Yep, on that musical note, we want to thank everyone for being here and wish all the fathers a happy Father's Day. And we'll see you all next week. Not sure if our guest is going to be able to make it because they had an emergency at the last second, but I will let you guys know during the week what's going on like usual, and blessings to all. May you have a great week.
And like my son said, thank you for showing up.
Thank you for showing up.
Yes. All right. Night, Matt. Night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.
Night.